Welcome back to the Rogues Gallery. This is AIRHEART.
When I was just a child, my father brought me on a journey across the desert to find our new home. He hoped that the city in the sky would provide a better life, free from the dangers below. The last time I saw him, he was waving goodbye as I flew over the walls of the spire. I quickly discovered that surviving in Granaria's underside is nothing but struggle. Sky fishing is a way of life up here, despite the low pay and risk of pirates. These days, I make ends meet fixing planes out of my hangar with a little fishing on the side. I know there's more for me up here than just scraping by. The old Undersiders tell stories about the sky whale, a creature in the highest layer that would make anyone who catches it incredibly rich. That's what Father would want for me. That's how I'll finish his story.
AIRHEART is a twin-stick shooter with a big emphasis on crafting and gradual improvement. We'll forget about that. Right now, we're just going to take to the sky. So as I said, twin-stick shooter. You can fly around, shoot, do things as you might expect. We have two main means of attack. We have a main weapon, which this is my shrapnel caster, and we have a harpoon, which we can use to latch onto other ships, fish, and obstacles. Now speaking of fish, they rule everything around us. This game has three main objectives. The biggest one is to get up. Go as high as you can. The second is to get fish. Fish are money. You can see my fish score in the top right. The more fish I pick up, the more money I get. And the last is to kill these red guys, who are pirates, to get scrap. And I can use scrap to invent new plane parts or new weapons. So for this first run, we're just going to go up a few layers, get used to how things work, tell you about the thing that planes have, which are wings, propellers. Planes have those. Planes also have, and not many people know this, passive and active abilities. For example, this plane has an active ability of reflect, which means I can bounce back projectiles for a certain amount of time. And its passive is wealthy, I believe, which attracts scrap and other dropped items to me. I also have a sub-weapon, which I think is missiles right now. Let's grab this health kit. Enemies will occasionally drop them. Sometimes you'll find them hidden in trees. Right now I just want to grab a bit of fish so I have money to make some stuff to invent and craft. I think 300 is enough. So since we're going home, why don't we take someone with us? You can grapple onto a friend. Oh no, I lost him. Let's find a new one. And then go back home. So at any time in this game you can just bail out and return to your home base with all your fish, all your scraps, anything you've collected so far. Oh, looks like I lost my friend somewhere on the way. If I brought him here, I would get his weapon, which is probably a machine gun since he's a low-level pirate. Alright, now let's talk about crafting and buying stuff. So first of all, there's a shop where you can buy plane parts. And this is the main way you'll get planes. It's probably the easiest way easier than inventing. I've been playing this for a while, so I've got pretty much all the plane parts. You'll also be able to buy weapons, but only really basic weapons that aren't very good. your main weapons are going to come from inventing. I have quite a few unlocked. Anything from lasers to shotguns to plane parts. But how crafting works is you'll always get basic scrap from enemies, usually these Force 4 types. Scrap metal, gunpowder, pipe, and machinery. Now for instance, if you put 3 scrap metal together, you'll make a metal box, which goes onto metalworks. And basically, you keep combining different kinds of basic scrap and more advanced scrap to make all this kind of stuff. And then, sometimes you have ideas, which are at the bottom, and they tell you how to build specific things, or give you hints how to do it. So I want to build this satellite here. So the game tells me I need something from the metalworks color. I'm going to say a metal foil, but we can try out a few different things. And it'll tell me which is the right one. So it looks like heavy encasing is what I need. So I'm going to go with heavy encasing, an energy converter. I know that one. Machinery, and for our last guess, we'll try a repeater. So my last 2 guesses were wrong. It's not machinery, it's not a repeater. It is a scope, though. So let's do a scope, and then we gotta find our last thing. Oh no, I'm broke. I ran out of money. But I can sell some of my inventions. So I could sell this lock gun. And because I've invented the satellite before, I can actually just go over here and figure out what part I need. Turns out it was glass. So I'll just craft it right now. And I get a solar laser, which is the best weapon in the game. So let's go back to our hangar. Let's swap out our plane for something a little more beefy. These parts have higher hit points. We'll throw on our new solar laser and some seeker missiles, and we'll give it an actual try. So this time we're going straight for the top if I don't run into people. You can shoot friendlies down. If you do enough damage to a friendly unit, they will call the police on you, who are not scary at all. But you also don't really get anything for it. Anyway, the reason I like the laser is because you don't have to aim. And aiming is not the life I am about. You just kind of point and click and it does the job. Same with the seeker missiles, which we can try out here. Seeker missiles are a bit slower, but they'll still find their target eventually. As will I. Alright, back at the Autumn Forest. So, when you first play the game, separating every layer is a boss. Unfortunately, the bosses do not respawn, but they're not super exciting to fight anyway. They're usually just a big HP sponge like this guy, and you fly around them in a circle and shoot them until they're dead. Not real riveting stuff. Although I would say this game is difficult, but not punishing. The fact that you can kind of bail out if you need to means that you will not often lose all your stuff. Because if you do crash, you'll lose some of your items and some of your plane parts. But if you retreat you lose nothing. Meaning stakes are pretty low in general. It's only if you get cocky or get greedy that you start having problems. Or if you start running into things. Like me. But the part that's hard is there are a shitload of enemies on the screen. And unlike a normal twin-stick shooter, it's very hard to control your movement because you're a plane, and planes go forwards all the time. But because of the sheer volume of garbage on the screen, Reflect is one of the best abilities in the game. Although it doesn't stop you when enemies just want to run into you for some reason. Cannot protect you from collisions. Another thing about this game, music, pretty good. I like it. Made it to Snowcrest, which is the penultimate layer. It's where we'll start to see machines instead of just pirates. Machines, much like me, have lasers, although they're not that scary. They're very bad at aiming. Also, we'll start to see some big fish like that guy. I can't actually run into that guy to pick him up. He'll damage me. I could use the harpoon, but then I'd have to go back to base and just drag him with me. Which I am not looking to do right now. We're either going to the top or we're crashing. One of the two. Actually, we're not going to crash. I've had to re-record this too many times to crash. Maybe I'll splice in one of the crash recordings. We're almost there. Normally you wouldn't want to do this. Normally you would kind of want to spend time on a layer, catch fish. Layers also have their own fish population, so it's possible to overfish a layer. But as I don't really need money or parts, I'm happy to just go to the very top. And here we are, the Stratosphere. And its sequel, Stratosphere 2. And this is where we find the last boss, who is, much like other bosses, very boring to fight. So I'm probably going to fast forward through this part. But basically you fly around him in a circle, you shoot him with missiles. Occasionally he gets upset, chases you off, and then he'll create these little barriers that you have to fly through. But on the whole, not too hard, as long as you have the health. Oh, sorry. Did I say this boss was easy? You must have misheard me. Anyway, this is what happens when you crash. You have to try to avoid floating islands, and as long as you can crash on your base, Granaria, you'll be fine. If you don't crash on it, you lose a lot of stuff. If you do crash on it, you lose a lot of stuff. For instance, I didn't lose too much this time, but I lost my weapon. My favorite weapon. But that's AIRHEART. Shame we didn't get to beat the boss, but I think you get the gist of it. It's not too bad, actually. And it has a regular adventure mode, a non-roguelike mode, for those curious about checking it out. But I'll see you next time.